We got to start with the first big news of that I noted here. Brad Campbell. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell extended through 2027. So this is sort of unforeseen territory. Lions GM and coach agree to another couple seasons to their contract. Let's see if I actually get the specific. I think it was 2 more years because it's all the way through the 2027 season. So, I mean, not a whole lot of commentary on that other than, I mean, they've been doing a fantastic job to this point. They deserve the extension. You take the team in year 3 to the NFC Championship game and you're 30 minutes out from a trip to the Super Bowl, which no one has ever done. Yeah, I mean, you deserve the extension, and hopefully this extension doesn't age poorly, and hopefully we see more and more years of success from Brad Holmes, and specifically from Dan Campbell. Both of them have done great jobs in their role. But further, as far as actual moves, so this was relatively early in the week, but we didn't get to talk about it. The Lions signed DJ Reader to a 2-year deal. So I'm gonna be a little contrarian for just a pinch because people love this deal, and I like the deal. I think DJ Reader is a really good player. One problem is he's coming off some injuries. I believe he's injured both of his quads in the past couple of seasons. So hopefully he is, healthy and not, gonna. I mean, he doesn't have any more quads to lose. But hopefully we're dealing with DJ Reader at his peak, at as much as we could get out of DJ Reader. So let me pull up his stats here really quick because he's 29 years old. He'll be 30. I mean, usually he'll be 30 by the end of the year. I don't know when he'll turn 30 though. Let me see if I can find his Football Reference page. Here we go. So last season, he did not. Excuse me. Wait. I felt it coming, and I was like, it's got to either come out at some point, or I don't know how we're going to deal with it. But anyway, so last year, he played 14 games, so obviously he missed a few games there. Didn't really actually, it just did, he wasn't, amazing. He had just a couple of TFLs. He had a lot of QB hits, but he was a run stuffer. That was his deal. A lot of combined tackles. He had 34 combined tackles. Hasn't played a full season, though, since 2018. So, again, the health is a little bit of a concern. But even still, I mean, frankly, if you can get 14 games out of him next year, I don't think anybody's going to be complaining. I mean, think of the guys we already had on the field. Like Aleem McNeil last year, who was our nose tackle. He didn't play a full season. He had a couple of games where he missed. I'm thinking of other guys that we've signed where they missed time. CJ Gardner-Johnson, namely, he missed a lot of time. But he's not a huge sack guy, and that's the thing that is, I guess, holding him back in a sense. I don't know if that's really the right word. So again, he's a run stuffer. He sits there in the middle of your defensive line. He's going to bring pressure. He's going to, stop you from running the football, which the Lions did incredibly well last year. So you strengthen a strength, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with, boosting something that you were already good at. You're already good at stopping the run. Let's make it even better. And DJ Reader is absolutely going to do that. Again, the only concern I have is the injury thing, the 2 quad injuries in the past couple of seasons. Not a huge fan of that. But hopefully it is a concern that is alleviated rather quickly. Up next, the Lions also re-signed Donovan Peoples-Jones. So Donovan Peoples-Jones, the one trade acquisition the Lions made last year at the deadline, trading him from the Cleveland Browns. They decided to bring him back. I was a little surprised because he really didn't do a whole lot for us. He made a couple of nice catches, and then I believe in the playoffs he was returning punts. I don't even know how many punts he had to return because obviously he was only doing that because Khalif Raymond went down. But I guess the Lions really he's a local guy, went to U of M, Cass Tech High School as well. He's from the area. He wanted to play for Detroit. So, hey, if he wants to be along for the ride, he's certainly a good player. Like, he certainly has that capability of having an effect. But obviously with the Lions offense the way it is, he he really couldn't find that much of a spot because it was like, oh, there's Amon-Ra, there's Josh Reynolds, yeah, even there's JMO. But that's fine. I mean, it's depth. It's only a 1-year deal, and hey, if he can find a spot in special teams or in gadget plays, something like, he's a veteran of the league. It's really not gonna hurt you to have him on your team. So, nice move there. And then the big move that happened yesterday evening, Lions bring in, if it wants to load for me, one Kevin Zeitler, offensive guard from the Ravens on a 1-year deal, which was just signed today. The announcement was yesterday, but it was just signed today. So that basically secures the offensive line. And I was actually listening to sports radio today at work. Don't tell my employers. I don't know why they wouldn't have a problem. But the point that was being made was that the Lions right now, with the moves that they've made, if you look at the totality, if you look at, Amik Robertson, Marcus Davenport, then you add Kevin Zeitler, Carlton Davis, and DJ Reader. You add it all together, you're like, we have basically addressed a lot of the issues, right? Like secondary, you bring back Mosley, you bring back you bring in Carlton Davis, you bring in Amik Robertson. And then on the other end of it, defensive line, you bring in Marcus Davenport, you bring in DJ Reader. And so now you're dealing with a spot where, and then you secure the offensive line. You bring back Glenn Glasgow, you bring in Kevin Zeitler, who is a Pro Bowl caliber guard. You're in a spot right now where there's not a immediate need where I'm like, you got to draft this guy, you got to draft this position in the draft. Like, I really can't think of it. Like, the only thing I would say is maybe you could still secure your defensive line. Maybe you can add an edge rusher if that's available at 29, or if you want to trade up or trade down, whatever you want to do. But it gives Brad Holmes a lot more leeway, which I think is where he works his best, because it's funny. A lot of the time when fans or commentators or whoever, they think, oh, the Lions need to do this, and then he does basically the opposite. And it ends up working out. I mean, just this past year, you use your first-round draft picks on a running back in Jahmyr Gibbs and a off-ball linebacker in Jack Campbell, and both those guys turned out to be pretty good players. So this gives him a lot more room, and we know that he can draft high, he can draft low, and so this is where he's at his best. And I mentioned it last week that with where the Lions are at, the offseason, you can't just sit and say, oh my gosh, why didn't we do this in free agency? It's like the offseason is more than just free agency and trades. The draft is the bread and butter. The draft is where you will live and die. If you can't draft, it doesn't matter if you can sign and make some decent trades, because that's where you're going to get most of your players. You get, I mean, how many players do you usually get in the draft, right? Like, you go 7 rounds, I don't know, you get at least roughly somewhere around 7-ish players, which is almost an entire side of the field, right? On top of the players that you already have and all that. So they have the ability now to just go into the draft and have a little fun. I mean, honestly, it's BPA, best player available. If the best player available is a corner, take him. Best player available is a wide receiver, take him. Best player available is an offensive lineman, take it. Outside of drafting a quarterback or a running back, do whatever you want. And I think that's the best position to be in. It alleviates a little bit of the pressure, and it allows for Brad Holmes to just kind of cook, as the kids say. Just let the man cook, and hopefully it ends up in not a whole lot of controversy. But we know that Brad Holmes likes to go against the grain, especially in the draft. So we'll see about it, but he usually ends up right in the end, and that's why he got that extension. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.